pretty cold and wet today.
Okay, so I want to share with you a conversation I've just had with a very high performance coach. Now, this coach has sent me a number of their athletes in the past to work with, and we've got some absolutely phenomenal results in working with these athletes, really dominating, particularly here in Australia, their sport. This is no slouch of a coach. They know what they're doing, they're very good at what they do. Anyway, this coach called me and he said to me, I can't do this no more. I'm incredibly frustrated and either things need to change or I need to get out. The reality was, I said to him, all right, so in your mind, what specifically are these athletes doing or not doing that is causing you this frustration? He's gone, Dave, they just don't listen to me anymore. The athletes of today are so different. They're wired different. They won't do what us coaches are telling them to do. If they're not listening to you, what specifically are you saying? And he started to get a little bit frustrated with me, and he's saying to me, Dave, look, you're not listening to me. I know what I'm talking about. I know what these athletes need to do in order to be successful. And it's true. He has produced a number over the decades of really successful athletes. Technically, this guy is probably one of the best in the world at what they do. So when I asked him specifically, what is it you're saying to them? What are the words that you're using? He said, Dave, I use the same words I always have done, and athletes have historically got a really good result by listening to me. So herein lies the challenge. And the challenge isn't what you're saying. The challenge is how you're saying it. As coaches, we're often taught what to teach. And without a doubt, if I look at the coaching fraternity today, I think coaches of today are way more technically aware than ever before. There's a lot more education for coaches around what to teach. In fact, I've attended a number of the accreditation trainings that coaches have to attend, and is incredibly technically heavy. I think that's great. I love it. I think as a nerd, I think it's fantastic. Where I think we're not yet where we need to be, and where this coach is struggling, is because there's so much emphasis and so much information given to coaches around techniques and technical. They're not necessarily paying the same amount of attention to the psychology of an athlete. Humans of today are different to humans of 20, 30 years ago. We process information differently. We have different access to information. Their language patterns are different. Their processing is different. Their accessibility to information is different. Their memories are different. Our ability to get to the next piece of information, be that via Google or even YouTube. In actual fact, YouTube is probably one of the biggest athlete used databases of all of them. The evolving athlete has changed their language patterns, has changed their memory structure in a way that it's way more instantly gratified. The biggest challenge I think we as a sporting fraternity have today is to be able to maximize on the athlete's psychology. What we are seeing though is when athletes get put under pressure, knowing how to tap into that specificity, that uniqueness that is that athlete alone, is where we as coaches need to be able to go. That's the next frontier for athlete development. Coaches, I think, are very willing to learn this. However, most coaches will turn around and tell you that they're time poor. So I was talking to this coach and I said to them, okay, when you educate yourself, when you work to develop yourself as a coach, where do you spend most of your time? And he said, Dave, I spend so much time understanding the requirements. When you go in and you work with your athletes, where's the frustration coming from? And he said, I work really, really hard. I to say the same thing over and over and over again, and it's just not sinking in. Is it not sinking in, or is it not landing? And he goes, aren't they the same thing? I said, no, because if they're landing and not sinking in, then it's an athlete reception. If they're not landing, it's a delivery issue. So we spent some time going through the last couple of sessions that he's had with his athletes, where certain things have landed and been absorbed, where certain things have landed but not been absorbed, and then there's certain things that just have not landed. Now, he came away from this conversation thinking, right, I know how to solve this, I know what I need to do, and it had nothing to do with his athletes. It had everything to do with what he was focusing on and how he was coaching. Where are you spending most of your time as a coach? And are you getting bang for buck in that exposure? And where are you getting those friction points? Are the friction points in the athlete's application? Or are the friction points in the fact that you're spending so much of your time constantly repeating yourself and not getting any traction and momentum forwards? I recently delivered part of my main arena coaching program to the university. My performance and psychology unit was delivered to coaches both here domestically, and it was also delivered online to international coaches of all different sports. Most of the coaches had the same challenges. They were very highly focused on technique and technical, yet the biggest frustrations they were experiencing in their own coaching day to day was application. I didn't teach them how to do their sport. What I was teaching them was how to deliver their coaching. So ask yourself, as a coach, how effectively are you delivering your information? How effective are you at being a coach? Because if your technical knowledge is where it needs to be, and your physical understanding of your athlete's physiology is where it needs to be, and yet you're still not optimizing and getting the most out of your athletes, then it has to be psychological. So there's one thing I'll ask you to do as a coach, and this is an exercise I ask all the coaches who attend our main arena coaching program, which, if you're interested in, is a 12-week intense on Zoom program that we deliver for coaches. I'll link that down below if you want to get some further information about that online program. But one exercise I get them to do, and I'll ask you to do this, and just to give you some awareness, record the audio of you coaching. Because almost every coach that does this exercise, they'll put a mic on them, whether it be a little mic like I've got here, and they record it to their phone. And part of the exercise is, I'll say, right, make a note before you listen to yourself back. Make a note of what it was specifically you were trying to convey to your athletes, and then listen back to the audio. When you listen back to that audio, does it correlate with the outcome, the objective you wanted for that athlete? Interestingly, almost every coach that listens to it will turn around and say, well, you know what, I probably wasn't as specific as I needed to be, or I didn't realize I said that, or I thought I said this and I didn't even say it. So our perception of what we're saying is often very, very different to the reality of what we say. Have a great day. Hope this information has helped you better understand what you can do to be a more efficient and effective coach.